All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tullahoma Planning Commission regular meeting. I'm the chairman, Paul Schwer, and I'm calling the meeting to order. We have all members present, 7 members present, so we do have a quorum. And at this time, I'd like everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First action on the agenda, read and approve the minutes from the October 21st meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Mr. Sellers, second from Mayor Seaborn to approve the minutes as written. Any discussion? Call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstained? All right. Minutes as written, 7-0. All right, report. General public comments for items not on the agenda. At this time, I would like to invite anyone from the public to come forward and speak on items that are not on tonight's agenda that are in the purview of the Planning Commission. You'll be allotted 3 minutes if anyone would like to exercise that. Please come forward. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Hi, I'm Fran Gray, and I live at 121 Autumn Lane. And I just wanted to compliment this department because I have had interactions off and on over the last several years for different needs and items, and I have been treated very cordially and kindly and compassionately in cases, and I just want to say I'm grateful for that. I think we have some good listeners in the group, and I think that they're willing to work with us to the best of their ability, considering the codes and all. So I just want to say thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gray. Anyone else would like to speak at this time? All right, I will close the general public comments and move on to reports for commissioners and staff. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. Fran, I appreciate that. That's very kind of those words. October 24th, Sam Edwards conducted 4 hours of training for Alderman McGee and Mayor Seaborn, as well as Charles Rush, that satisfies the 4 hours, the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeal requirements, and TCA 13.3.101 and 13.7.106, and 8 hours of training for Director Rush. November 6th and 8th, I went to the Tennessee APA conference. Myself and Chairman also attended that, and it was quite enjoyable. That's my report.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Old business. There is no old business. New business. Subdivision plats. These are public hearings. Stillwater subdivision final plat phase 2. A final plat to create 21 lots located along Wilson Avenue. Applicant is Mr. Chris Bateman. I'd invite the applicant or representative to come forward.
I am Chris Bateman.
All right. Anything, 21 lots, I mean, short statement on what you're trying to do?
Yeah, there's supposed to be 21 or 19. I've got to get that verified, 21 or 19 of those lots going out towards Marlowe College on phase 2 of Stillwater subdivision. As hopefully you guys have been out through there, the contractor has definitely put the houses up quickly.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bateman.
All right.
All right. This is a public hearing, so I would invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time to speak on the Stillwater subdivision final plat. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to the staff report. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. We're zoned R1, total size is 25.82 acres. We're creating 19 lots of the approved 62 single-family lots. Phase 1 was 17 lots, and it was approved in August. Utilities are through TUA. Staff recommends approving Phase 2 Stillwater subdivision, subject to all staff comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. This time, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
All right, motion from Mr. Hall.
Second.
Second from Mr. Rice. Discussion.
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Comer?
When we approved this on previous thing about that, seemed like it was a couple of years ago. I don't remember for sure. But anyway, there was discussion concerning putting a wall along Wilson Avenue so that the backs of those houses wouldn't be visible from Wilson Avenue. Is that in place?
Yes, sir. That's in my comments. That's addressed. That's how it was approved in the preliminary plat. Planning Commission's comments from the DAC. I believe it's comments. When?
Looks like in the planning section, number 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2. That will address that concern, sir.
7-foot tall fence.
That's how it was approved on the preliminary plat.
Yep.
What's the why does it say 21 here and it was actually 19?
The plat says 21, and so there's some disagreement between the surveyor and the gentleman that's actually developing it. I clarified that it is 19, so that's where my staff comment comes into play.
Okay.
The plat reflects 21, but that'll be changed.
All right. Any other comments from or discussion amongst the commission? All right, with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the approval of the Stillwater subdivision final plat phase 2 with staff comments? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? All right. Motion passes 7-0. That was Hall and Rice. All right. Item number 2, Autumn View Minor Subdivision Final Plat. A final plat to create 3 lots located along Old Shelbyville Highway. The applicant is Northcott & Associates. I would invite the applicant to come forward at this time.
Hey, I'm Mandy from Northcott & Associates. Mr. Umberger and Mr. Ross just want to combine 2 large tracts and cut 3 smaller lots from the front with road frontage. Sewer is available.
All right, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the Autumn View Minor Subdivision Final Plat at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and staff report. Mr. Rush.
Thanks, sir. We're creating 3 lots, a minor subdivision on 1.44 acres. Location is Old Shelbyville Highway. Each lot is 0.47 acres or greater, meets all zoning and subdivision regulations. Utilities will be TUA. Staff recommends to approve the final plat subject to all staff comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion.
Motion to approve, subject to staff comments.
Motion from Mr. Hall.
Second.
Second from Mr. Comer. Discussion. Mr. Sellers.
I have a question about the land that's going to remain behind that property, and then there's the, I guess, the easement to get back there. Is there plans to put more houses behind it? Do we have any information?
I have no information on that.
It is a flag lot set up, it seems. Okay. All right.
There's some drainage issues and everything else with that lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's noted on the plat. All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor of approval of the Autumn View Minor Subdivision Final Plat, subject to staff comments? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. New business, Section B, zoning map amendments. These are public hearings as well. Zoning map amendment, ZMA 298. Excuse me. Excuse me. A request to rezone a parcel located at 101 Wilkins Drive from R1 low density residential to C3 neighborhood commercial. The applicant is First Vision Bank. I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward.
Hi, I'm Denise Sledford with First Vision Bank, and we've been looking to expand a little bit. We've grown, so we've been looking at a couple of properties right there near our bank, and that one came up for sale at 101. And so we would like to have it rezoned in order to put an operations, which is just an administrative building. There would be no customer interaction at that lot. It would just be operations staff from the bank, probably about 10 to 15 employees. Our plan would be just to kind of put landscaping and things around it where it's not an eyesore in the neighborhood, and kind of face it more toward Jackson Street a little bit.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward at this time to speak on the zoning map amendment 298. Ma'am, you're recognized. Please state your name and address, and you allotted 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Renata Stone. I live at 106 Wilkins Drive, and my husband would be here, but he's at a meeting, but he would support me 100%. When we moved over there were 13 houses, and 2 houses were moved to make room for the bank, which I can see makes sense, it's on Jackson. 2 houses were built the last couple of years also on one of the cul-de-sacs. We all love our little quiet neighborhood, and we want to keep it like that. There are children in 4 of the houses. They play outside, ride their bicycles in the neighborhood. We adults, we walk around over there, so why would you want to ruin our little neighborhood? Why? This goes, to the commissioners, whoever. We don't understand why, because you take one house, you take the next house, and so on. About 10 or more years ago, the same thing came up, and to change it from residential to commercial. It didn't work then, none of us wanted it, and I hope it will not work now. Something else to location. If you were a business, where would you put a business in 2 little cul-de-sacs? Most people would not. 2 cul-de-sacs, think about that. So yes, they would take one house, but then they would want another one and another one. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. So would any of you want a business next to your house? I kind of doubt it. You would not want some business next to you. You want to live in a neighborhood where you can enjoy yourselves, that your children can play and stuff like that. You would not want to have a business over there. So the way I look at it, we don't want our neighborhood to be ruined. We don't want a commercial building. We don't want more high taxes. So as far as I'm concerned, and for my case, the case is closed.
No.
That's the way I look at it. We don't want it ruined.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. So you're recognized. Please state your name and address and allotted 2 minutes.
My name is Jay Merchant. I live at 302 Golf Club Lane, which is adjacent to the property in question. I feel the same way as Ms. Stone. It's 2 small cul-de-sacs with families in it. There's no through street. I understood if we were on Jackson or if we were on Lincoln, Grundy, that's to be expected. That comes with the territory of being in a busy street. This is a small, private neighborhood. We all get along with each other. The Walker family's here. I don't know if they'll speak or not, but almost everybody in here is from this neighborhood. We have nothing against the bank. They're fine people, but we would like to keep the neighborhood the way it is. I have children that ride up and down that street all the time. They play out there. They play hide and seek. It doesn't make any sense. As much commercial property as I see right now, it makes no sense to tear down a fine or to remove a residential zone, because it'll never go back to residential. It won't. Who's going to pay that tax to buy commercial property and build and convert it back into a home? They're just not. Just as us, our taxes are going to go up. It makes absolutely 0 sense to us. Now, to them, it may make sense, but to us, it makes absolutely no sense. Nobody I talk to in that neighborhood wants this. Nobody. Now, there may be some people that are ambivalent, but pretty much everybody came out against it. I can't speak on everybody's behalf, but the 9 people that I spoke to absolutely did not want it. And I implore you guys to think about that. As Ms. Stone said, would you want that going right next to your home? And you have kids and grandchildren playing, you probably wouldn't. And so we would ask you not to vote it based upon that, but based upon how would you view, would you want it next to you? That's how we look at it. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
My name is Jalen Mays. I would be the neighbor of 101 Wilkins, so I'm at 103 Wilkins, which was just converted to 154 Wilkins due to the homes that were built. I'm here to express my complete outrage and utter disbelief at the proposal to rezone our neighborhood, our Country Club Drive and Wilkins Drive, into a commercial development zone. This is not an inconvenience or a minor change. It is an aggressive, reckless decision that threatens the very heart of our community. And I am furious about the complete lack of regard for the people who live here. This neighborhood is not a canvas for your commercial ambitions. It is where people have built their lives, their homes, and their future. The fact that you think it is acceptable to take an area that has been a peaceful residential community for years and to turn it into a business district is beyond comprehension. People don't live here for your companies to profit off of us. We live here because it is a place where we've made a life that you now threaten to destroy to turn into parking lots and office buildings. What do you think will happen when you shove a business district into the middle of a residential area? Ask yourself, would you allow this in your neighborhood? With the increased traffic will be unbearable. Don't you understand that? The quiet streets will become congested with cars, delivery trucks, and customers all day long. And the noise, the pollution, the chaos will make living here miserable. This is not just an inconvenience, it will make the neighborhood unlivable. For so many of us, you want to destroy the peace and the serenity that families, include my own, have fought to create over the years. My great aunt and uncle built the house that we live in at 154 Wilkins Drive in 1963. All for what? This neighborhood was never meant to handle the demands of a commercial zone. The roads, the utilities, the school, which we live by, the children at the high school walk through our roads to the back to get to school. Not only will this drive up cost for everyone living here, but it will also degrade the quality of our life for every residential, from your children to the elderly. Have you even considered the long-term effects on property values, the homes you plan to devalue and displace with your so-called progress? Will be devastated by the
your time has expired. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the decision.
Sir, you recognize?
My name is Donald Walker, and I stay at 304 Golf Club Lane. And I've moved here about 2.5 years ago. And one of the drawing points for me and my family was it was a quiet neighborhood that was right off a busy interference. So we could be home and relaxed and not deal with all of the traffic and the noise and the busyness. We had quiet streets. They're narrow streets. Usually if one person's coming in and another one coming out, one of us will have to pull over to let the other one out. And I don't think that's going to work too well if we're going to start putting businesses down there. But our family, we like the quietness, and we don't have anything against the bank. And I tried. I understand their position, but I don't think that area is good for for businesses to be in. We don't have the infrastructure there to just support more business, more buildings, and a rush of people. And I was going to ask you all to consider that as you vote on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to speak on the zoning map amendment 298?
This is Carol Tsai. I live down 138 Wilkins Drive. I enjoy that little house just built 2 years ago because of the view, the circle park, that I can do exercise. And basically, I could rest really well and work. So please don't make it a commercial or office building. That would destroy my peaceful life.
Hey, ma'am, thank you. Can you state your name and address again for us, please?
Carol Tsai, Tsai.
And your address? 128. 138.
Wilkins Drive.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on behalf of zoning map amendment 298?
Is it okay for me to?
Yes, ma'am, you're recognized.
I would just like to say we've been part of that neighborhood for 20 years. We were the ones that took over the 2 houses and built where the bank is. We don't have any plans to intrude on that back part of the neighborhood. The building would be kind of faced to the side road. There's no additional people. It's the same people that are working at our bank now. We've just kind of run out of space. So there's not going to be any additional traffic. There would be no reason for those people to travel into that neighborhood. They're literally, instead of pulling in and turning to the right, they're going to pull in and turn to the left. We would not have plans we're planning on building a 1-story building. We would make it very nice in the neighborhood so that it's not intrusive or look like a super commercial building. We're very mindful of the vibe of that neighborhood and keeping it the way it is. So there would be no customers, no delivery trucks, nothing like that would be coming into the neighborhood at all.
All right, thank you for that clarification. All right. With that, I will close the public hearing, unless last chance. All right, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Russ, staff report.
Yes, it's 0.57 acres. It's owned currently R1, request is C3. It's 101 Wilkins Drive. I have printed out this handout here. I request all you guys to kind of look at. For Golf Club Lane, Wilkins Drive, and also Jackson Circle, we are running out of retail space. We do not have enough as it is currently right now. We have a lot of retail that are needing spaces. And as I look at it, I do have to disagree with the majority of the audience here and put my planning hat on and say, yes, I mean, it's prime location because it is right off North Jackson. It is historically zoned residential, but as that has changed and that development pattern has changed there, it does make sense for it to be commercial. So what we're proposing right now is C3 just for that one lot. I do think this is something we need to look at in January on the future land use map to see if we can do something for this. C3 allows for office space area that needs greater focus from the Planning Commission. Staff recommends to send a favorable to rezone the parcel to C3 to the board and Mayor Alderman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. All right, entertain a motion.
I've got a couple questions. Well, okay, I'll make a motion to approve for the sake of discussion.
Motion from Mr. Seaborn.
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Hall. You're recognized.
Okay, so can I ask a couple questions of Mr. Rush?
Yes, sir.
If that's okay. So I thought I had remembered in the past, maybe I remembered incorrectly, at least on Forest Drive, I'm sorry, that's not Forest Drive, what is that? Jackson Circle. Mm-hmm. What is the future land use map of this area now?
So it's identical. That's in your packets. It should be page, I believe I have it printed, maybe enlarged it. Let's look.
Page 31.
I think I tried to snip a larger view of it. Maybe I didn't. It's still the exact same as it currently looks like right now from that zoning map and the future land use map. It is identical. The R1 stays the R1 zoning, the C2 stays the C2 zoning.
Okay, I thought we had changed that in the past.
I think there was some motions to change that. From everything I saw from the records and everything else, at least over the last 4 years, I could not find anything that has been rezoned.
So the overlay is not commercial?
Yes, the overlay is what you see right now for that.
I'm sorry, the overlay is what? Yeah.
That page right
This
there.
right here.
So is that the red?
Yep.
Okay.
Commercial.
That's a future land use map.
So there was mentioned by a couple of our public hearing folks that there have been new houses built in here. How many new houses have been built in, say, the last 5 years in there?
I believe only two that has been mentioned. Yes, and I mean, yeah, Nina's shaking her head, so yes, 2.
I'm actually surprised by that a little bit, but that's because I thought this was zoned differently for the future use.
I have a question.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm right now.
I have a
Ms.
question.
McGee, you recognize?
What would this do to the value of the homes that's already there?
I don't see any negative value. I would argue that C3 is going to up their value just because you are allowed apartments in that. And so, I mean, if I'm a realtor or real estate development, I'm looking at this, and if this is zoned, has a potential to be zoned C3, I'm probably going to buy it all up and put apartments there. So I would say it's pretty valuable. I mean, as it is, C3 zoning is our most valuable zoning, anything. Anytime we rezone a parcel, it does spike just because of the allowed uses there.
For clarity, the tax base is based on use, not based on zone. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if it was a residence, they're going to pay residential rate.
Yep.
Commercial rate. Okay. Anything else from the commission?
So I'm still a little confused. It looks, so the overlay looks like it's residential overlay currently.
So the future land use and the current land use map are both zoned R1 for this parcel.
So will we have to change the overlay in order?
So we do not have to change the overlay since C3 encompasses single-family dwelling. It's an in-kind use compared to Sam Edwards, so we do not actually have to amend that. That's why we're allowed to zone C3 as it is.
We went through this on another property. We didn't zone it C3 and it was R1 and it was overlaid residential.
So that's reflected on the future land use map, so that's allowed for it. So the problem here is it's currently zoned R1. The future land use is R1 for it. So it cannot be zoned anything other than C3, which is an in-kind use for that, without changing the future land use map. I'm sorry if I'm explaining this poorly to you. I'm trying.
Because C3 also allows residential.
It allows residential, but it's not low density residential. Yeah, it's medium, high density residential.
No, it includes a single.
I mean, you could put low density.
No, you can. It includes, C3 includes low density residential as well as high density, which includes apartments for it as well that you get to choose from.
Encompasses all of it.
It's kind of a catch-all. That's why it's our most valuable zoning. When people actually rezone it, you have a lot of options for that. Did that answer your question, Alex?
Yes, it did.
Good.
Another question I have, so would there be an outlet onto the road, or would it be just the drive encompass going to the current?
So from their site plan, this will be handled in the future, but it will be coming off of Golf Club Lane. This is the only access point that we'll give them. But again, that's in the future. That'll be left up to staff, but that would be the comment for that.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, another question. So it will cause additional traffic on the golf side? No?
I don't see how it would add additional traffic because First Vision's already extends quite a bit. And then you can enter their lot, correct me if I'm wrong, from behind as well. So it's just right across the street from that. I don't see it causing additional. It would be a little different if we were trying to rezone one of those cul-de-sacs.
Okay, I got you.
That would change quite a bit of things for this.
Anything else, Mr. Sellers?
You know, I understand the desire to have more commercial property. That's makes good tax basis. However, I feel like that putting this in that cul-de-sac is taking away from the residential area that was there before this was ever thought of being commercial area. I mean, except for along Jackson. I mean, I like to say I like the idea of getting more revenue, but to take away residential for the sake of that seems like that eventually that whole area could be taken out if we were to do this. And I think that's a poor decision to affect people that have been living there for many years.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Conrad.
I've got mixed feelings about this. I think that for the long-term future, that whole area there is going to probably need to be commercial. But I think also that at this time, doing that piecemeal by making this one lot commercial is not really a good idea. I think that probably what should be done at some time in the future, if some developer would like to develop that whole area and buy the whole street there, and a proposal came up where the property owners were willing to sell, then that would be a legitimate reason to make that commercial. But to just bite off this little piece, I don't really think it's a good idea.
All right, thank you, Mr. Comer.
I agree with what Mr. Comer says.
Question. What's on this property now?
It's just a single-family house.
So there's still
it's
a house
currently
on it.
vacant. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask another question? Have you considered just using the house and remodeling the house?
It's still being commercial.
I can actually answer that. They
Yeah,
still
we-
cannot use it as commercial use.
Can't
That's
use it as
why they're
commercial use.
requesting to rezone.
Yeah,
it.
we can't use
do
it like
that.
it is. Yeah, sorry.
Should rezone it.
All right, I'll call the question, call the vote. All in favor to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the rezoning request 298? Aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Nay. All right, motion fails 6-1. With the failure, just for clarity, it still goes to the board, correct?
No, it doesn't.
It does not? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a comment?
Yes, sir.
I share Mr. Comer's opinion that this is ultimately likely to be commercial. This has been talked about because of the area it is in our city for well on 15 years now. I just want the residents to be aware of that. And so as we're moving forward into next year, we're going to be looking at working on our long-term plans, and one of those is going to be a future land use map. So this topic's going to come up again. I encourage you to pay attention to that if it's important to you. I don't agree with Mr. Sellers' comment that, well, we can't disrupt a neighborhood, because as cities grow, eventually there has to be change somewhere, right? We either go out to the edge of town and build more retail or what, but it's just kind of the normal progression of nature is that eventually, as the city grows, something has to grow, commercial has to grow as well, and it's got to expand somewhere. Your property, I think, is probably actually pretty valuable in that regard, and I think you ought to keep that in mind as well. If there is a demand for your property, that ought to fetch a good price at some point. So I'm not saying how it's going to turn out, but be thinking about that going into the future, that there's going to be some pressure on this particular property because of its location right in the center of the commercial district. And Tullahoma, unfortunately, is extremely dependent on our sales tax because of the way our property is in town. We don't have a lot of industrial property available like, say, a Manchester does out at the interstate. So just appreciate your killing up tonight. I agree with Mr. Comer's comment. Let's not onesie-twosie it, but be aware that in the future this could be an issue. That's thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, moving on. Zoning map amendment ZMA 299. Request to rezone parcel located at 381 Flower Town Road from C2 General Commercial to C3 Neighborhood Commercial. The applicant is Karen Ross and family. I'd invite the applicant to come forward. Sir, you're recognized.
Just doing it so I can rebuild if something happens under the current C2. I cannot rebuild a residence, so C3 is more fitting for what I have.
Thank you, sir. All right. With that, this is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public to come forward and speak on this zoning map amendment 299. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move to staff report. Mr. Rush.
Thank you. It's 381 Flowertown Road. I rezoned parcel 383 Flowertown from C2 to C3 about 2 months ago, and that did actually pass the board as well. It's 470 foot of road frontage, use as a single-family dwelling. Staff recommends to send a favorable recommendation to the board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mr.
Based on
Rice.
staff comment.
Second.
Second from Ms. McGee. All right, discussion. Mr.
It's the
Sellers.
same thing, changing it to C3 allows for more use, and then it won't be conflicting with the area around it.
Right. Right now, this parcel that his home currently sits on is on C2, and so if a tornado came through, he would not be able to rebuild. I think I'm talking to most of you guys, and we'll probably talk about this in January on whether or not we should just rezone this entire corridor to C3.
The majority of it's residential, right?
Yeah, it's all residential uses behind there. I mean, there's nothing. It hasn't developed that way. I could see with Summerlin coming through, I mean, it probably will start to develop that way. But this still gives him the option to have that single-family home there, and then also gives him the option for commercial one day if he chooses to do that. So.
Almost the same as the last argument. It's prime property for both. Anything else? All right, with that, I'll call the vote. All in favor to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for zoning map amendment 299 based on findings of fact from staff? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, Section 8C, annexations, public hearings. Annexation 2401, a request to annex 1.06 acres located at the intersection of Short Springs Road and Carter Blake Road, and is zoned to property R1. The applicant is Somer Denby. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Yeah. It's me, Summer Denby. So I own 3 parcels here. My personal residence, this is not an investment, this is actually my personal residence. This 1 acre parcel that I'm bringing to your attention tonight is currently zoned county. I believe I am the first property outside the city limits. This lot, all of my neighbors, I think, are city, so I think I'm the only county residence until you get further down Short Springs. So I'm wanting to rezone this to a city lot to, of course, have city amenities on this particular acre.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, this is a public hearing. I'd like to invite anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this annexation request to come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Staff report, Mr. Rush.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Chairman. I reference you to page 50 so you can see exactly what she's talking about. She pretty much is the last parcel there that's outside the city limits. It's a request to annex 1.09 acres located in the intersection of Short Springs Road and Carter Blake Road. It's surrounded by R1 uses. Applicant plans to make 3 lots that meet all zoning requirements from the city. All services can be provided. Staff recommends to vote to send a favorable recommendation to the board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rush. Motion.
Motion to send favorable recommendation.
All right, motion from Mr. Hall. Second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Rice. Discussion on this.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Coleman, you recommend?
On this drawing, I don't see the page number, but it's a drawing of the whole area, the whole plot there. And This shows those 3 lots at the bottom. Are those 3 lots the only ones that we're considering annexation, or is it the whole thing?
It's just that 1.09 acres, so it's just those 3 lots. That's as many lots as you could technically have for that. Yes, sir.
Just didn't understand that.
Yes, sir.
So is it already subdivided into those
It's
3
not subdivided, so this is the future goal for this. So for that plan of service and everything else, I have to request a plat with that. And those are the many lots that you can actually get, and that's for school to review it, that's for Butch to review it, and all our services that we provide for that. And all services can be provided to all 3 of these lots without a problem.
So I'm a little unclear. So do we have to subdivide it before we can
No,
annex it?
we'll subdivide it after we annex
Okay.
it. Currently, right now, she just submitted that with it.
All right.
And the lot that's next to it on down Carter Blake, those are all in the city already? The one that has the yellow section?
Yeah, so the yellow that you see, those are
in the
all,
city?
yes, sir. Those are all our single-family, low-density R1.
So like everything in the hash is UGB.
Yep. That's all UGB. That's in the hash, correct?
Is there anything that has to go to the county for us to annex? I've not been.
Yes, so our.
Part of the annexation for it?
Correct, so after the board approves it, I will let Mayor Hunt and everybody else know. But the board has to approve it first before I can do that.
Any other discussion? We'll call the vote. All in favor of sending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the annexation request 2401. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes 7-0. That is the end of the Planning Commissioners, the Planning Commission agenda. So I will close the Planning Commission meeting and open the Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting agenda. I'll call that meeting to order at this time. Read and approve the minutes from this October 21st BOZA meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Mr. Hall, second from Mr. Sellers. All in favor of the minutes as written, aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are passed 7-0. There is no old business. There is no new business. We are adjourned. Thank you.